We're good?
And
And Haven, just to make sure I understand correctly, we're not doing the mics?
No, the mics are being.
We're good?
On the ceiling, they're still good right now, you just gotta speak up.
Speak up, okay, alright. Okay, and are there any amendments to the agenda? Does anybody have anything they need to add? Michael, you're good?
yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm just trying to get this to be the big screen.
Okay, we'll wait a minute while you sort it out. There's no rush.
Hayden, can you make your
I made you, oh, so.
but what I'm not sure about is like the video of the room is really tiny.
Oh, yeah, I can put, well, yeah, so,
Yeah, okay, great.
I thought you were waiting for her videos.
No, sorry.
It's cool.
Okay. I think that we're good.
Good.
As long as you got the audio and everything's good, then I'm good.
You want her picture bigger?
No, I mean, that's right, when we get to
Gotcha.
that.
That's good.
Okay, all set?
So.
Great. Next is to review the minutes from our November 18th, 2025 planning board meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes? So moved and seconded? No,
One correction.
it's gotta be seconded first.
Okay.
Who seconded it?
I'll second.
There you go, thank you, okay.
In number one, call to order agenda amendments, please note the public meeting for the Manville 3 lot 59 should that be public hearing.
Say this again, where?
Yes.
1A agenda amendments.
Yeah, it says, it was noted that a public meeting for the map 03 lot 59 White Road Shattuck application was scheduled for this meeting. It should be a public hearing
Yes.
was scheduled.
Yeah, great, good catch.
And just another totally minor, number 4A, second paragraph, your name needs to be capitalized.
4A. 4A.
4A, first, second paragraph, first sentence, the only changes since the last application.
Oh, identified by Martone.
Yep.
Small M.
Yep.
Okay. This wasn't misspelled again.
Any further comments or corrections to the minutes from the last meeting? No? All in favor as amended? That passes unanimously.
And just so I have it on the record, who motioned?
Lucas?
Lucas, and seconded by Mike. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, so. Old business, map 3, lot 59, White Road, Shattuck, application for subdivision. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So, just so we're all on the same page, at the last meeting. We tabled. This application for review. Had I closed the public hearing or had I not closed the public hearing? I don't think I had. No, we were in the
You're
middle.
gonna leave it open.
It was open.
At this meeting.
So we are still having a public hearing. We don't have to do anything, we just need to take it back up. Right?
Yeah,
I don't need to open anything, we don't need to, I'm just making procedural,
Yeah, I think that is correct.
okay. Yes, great, okay, so we can just pick up where we left off. So where we left off, if memory serves, is talking about the road. And you have a bunch more stuff for us, Michael, but I just wanna pick up where we left off. But the reason we tabled the review of the application was to ask legal counsel for input about trying to remember how we said it, and I can't remember exactly. Do you remember?
If I think there was, are you talking about the road?
The existing White Road.
But yeah, and the question of, I think the question that Peter, the attorney, was gonna look into was whether or not the planning board had the authority to, I guess, deny an application if the road, like a road leading to the property was not sufficient. You know, that he was saying, like, for commercial applications, like if a big boxer wanted to go in and they were gonna go on like, you know, this in Damerscott, like on Bristol Road. That, and the planning board said that, oh, this road's not sufficient.
Mhm.
Then they can basically say, if you're gonna. If you, in order to get this approved, we can't approve it because the road's too small. If you agree to. Upgrade the road, due to all the traffic they're gonna generate, then yeah, so I think he was looking at,
In a residential context.
yeah, right, I believe that's,
And you've had communication with him,
I have, yeah.
and his report was,
My understanding was, I was hoping he was gonna be here so he could address it, but, was that the planning board the planning board has the authority to basically say, well. I wanna make sure it framed right, is that the planning board can basically reject an application if the, like, road leading to or from the development is insufficient. That planning board has pretty broad authority in that.
Mhm.
Not necessarily that it has to, but it has the authority.
Okay.
So we can, I think we can kind of discuss that more, but
Can I ask if the planning board has ever done that before on any kind of subdivision?
I don't know if this planning board has, I don't think it's uncommon, I think it's, you know. The way that I think about it is that planning boards can basically reject applications if they're creating. Off-site issues, problems, and you know, if they're creating that problem or kind of. And this is better if an attorney explains it, but there's something called like a nexus where basically like. You as well as everything else, you kind of cause this to jump into another level of an issue. Then the planning board can basically say, you have not demonstrated that, you know, you've met the standard, which you have to point to a standard, but basically like. Broadly, like, are you, you know, negatively impacting the health, safety, welfare of the community is broadly where all of these ordinances come from. So that's, you know, are you creating a danger? Then if you don't mitigate it, if your proposal doesn't mitigate that, you know, the planning board can say, no, you're not allowed to do it. It's that's kind of big picture, the question always comes down to the details of like, you know, balance and what are you causing and what do you need to mitigate and.
Yep.
What's reasonable and that, so that's at least my non-lawyer.
non-lawyer answer.
I want to make sure that's clear.
Yes,
I'm not an
okay.
attorney, but
Okay. Great. So,
I just
You
wanted to
had-
point, no, I just wanted to point out that what he just said was in the meeting notes in terms of what Peter was supposed to follow.
that's,
The board discussed whether the planning board has authority to require upgrades of private roads due to the impact from residential projects in similar fashion to commercial projects. The board asked John to look into the matter and provide guidance to the board.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's just.
and I
They
did,
stated in the notes, yeah.
yeah,
You
and I
understand that.
spoke with Peter.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Tuesday or last week, but recently, and that's the basically the conversation we had. So, yeah.
all right, so let's just move on. I understand that there's been some updates and changes to the application based on some input from other reviewing officials.
Yes, okay, so I guess there's a number of documents that I've added and I wanna bring your attention to those, or at least just mention it for the record. Okay, so the first thing I should point out is the subdivision design has been updated, and that's what is. I think I mentioned this when I sent the packet out, which is subdivision application dated January 25th, 10. No, sorry, I missed my mistake. It is just called 2025 December 12th subdivision plan. It is in the list of all the documents, it's 3A3.
Yep.
Okay,
PDF.
and it's a PDF, yep, and it is, I can tell you, I believe the only difference.
The drawing.
But yes, exactly, it's subdivision plan, and the only difference is at the end of the road that goes between the two proposed lots. There's a,
straddles,
there's a, that's
that straddles the new
proposed
proposed
lot
lot
line.
line, yeah.
And actually, you know what?
Use the technology.
Yeah, let's do that. Let me figure it out. Share. This is, okay. So this is the change right here that I'm showing. It's there's
The
a
hammerhead.
bump out for a hammerhead. It's not really a bump,
Okay,
but so there's a hammerhead turnaround at the end of this road. That is proposed.
Yes.
The
old one doesn't have that.
Yeah, that was basically, I had sat down to make extra sure. I had spoken with the fire chief previously, and he had said everything's fine, but I wanted to make kind of double sure. And what he had said was, yes, all looks good, except because this is, somewhere north of, it's 170 feet from at least the end of this, where this lot line is. But backing a fire truck up there was gonna be problematic, and the ordinance does say hammerhead at the end of the road. Bernie Road, I think it's over 100 feet, so he's requested that the hammerhead be put there. And then the applicant was compliant and put a hammerhead at the end of that. So other than that, he said that this plan looked good and he was satisfied with it.
Your wingman.
That is the update here. And let me see what else we've got. Are there any questions on that? No, okay.
Okay.
So there is some email correspondence. I believe this. Kathleen had shared this with me. This was in the packet when I sent it out, but this is new for tonight from the last meeting. And we can go through that. Kathleen, I don't know, did you want to touch on any of this? We can also come back to it once I highlight any other documents that are in there.
I think I said what I wanted to say, but I'm happy to respond to any questions about the different issues that I
Okay,
talked about in this letter.
so
Which are you talking about, the 2020? I'm just, so we're all in the same document.
yeah,
There's a lot of documents.
yes, there are.
Yeah.
This is the one, M003, LO 59, 2025.11.18 email correspondence with applicant.
It's the next one. It's 12/3.
12, sorry, I'm out of order. Right, sorry. 2025.12.03 email correspondence. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yep, that's better. Okay. So
Which number? Which document number?
It should, if you sort them in name order, it'll be at the bottom. I did not put the 3A15, but it is, map 3, lot 59, White Road, Shattuck, and then it's 2025 12/3 email correspondence with that.
Okay, I got you. I don't know.
yeah, mine came in the middle when I sorted.
Oh.
There's too many documents.
There's a lot of documents.
I'm still finding it.
Yeah, Kathleen.
If you sort it by name, it's one, two, three.
It's okay. I got
This
it.
is from the
From the
main
bottom.
packet. This is the main packet.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Sort by name, it's what?
Sort it by name is 6th from the bottom.
So is the book 6145, page 28? No,
No,
that's 60 bottom.
Got it.
oh no, oh, you might be sort of the wrong. Wait for that. Yeah, move it there. And.
Don't like my number? Wait.
Yeah. Got it. Well. Oh no, it's at the top, it's at the top. There it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Michael, do you want to walk us through anything here?
Sure, we can, you can go through this, Kathleen responded to, the request for the turnaround. But at this point, the turnaround is in there, that's what's proposed, so you review that. And then there are, some additional comments regarding home density, which we can discuss, it says there's not 5, there's 2. And I guess we can look at you provided a drawing, which I can pull up. So basically addresses the number of homes that are on that road, that use that road. The second point is about inadequate opportunities for vehicles to pass each other, in which the applicant points out that there's 9 places that are wide enough to turn around.
No, not to turn around, for
Sorry,
children to
yes.
fence each other.
That's correct. And the previous owner invested $35,000 in road improvements in the last 2 years. So regarding the aesthetics issue, there is a thick buffer woods about 400 feet from your shorefront, from applicant shore frontage. And that applicant doesn't, so the proposed 2 homes will not compromise the aesthetics of that shoreland. And again, kind of expands on that. See, and then regarding the risks imposed by the passing zone on River Road. I guess your husband has been working with the civil engineer at DOT. And they're gonna look into that, possibly address it.
Yeah, we're optimistic about that. They go by the book, and the book just has to do with the speed limit and the number of feet of sight lines. And the sight line that's in question is actually, hundreds of feet. You measure, but what they didn't take into consideration is the guardrail and the stockade fence that fronts the Fitch rental property. And that shortens the sight line to less than 200 feet rather than like 900 feet. And we brought that up, and he was concerned about that. And I'm going to send him photographs, and he's going to bring it up at the regional meeting in February. Yeah. But he was very responsive to it and said that he would reassess it, because when he came and reassessed it a month or so ago, he didn't consider that guardrail or that stockade fence. He was simply confirming that the speed limit and the sight line from River Road, where somebody would be driving when they decided to pass, he did not consider the sight line from White Road. So we're hopeful that they will change that dotted line. And we'll know more in February.
Okay. So I think before we go a whole lot further, and this might be a really good segue. I just want to take a moment to make it clear for everybody what we are doing and what we're not. We have before us an application for subdivision. Just subdivision. So we're not reviewing about or considering anything outside the scope of subdivision. Because there's nothing being proposed that is outside the scope of subdivision.
Under this application.
So I feel like it's important to just remind everybody that the focus is quite narrow. we're not reviewing houses, we're not reviewing shoreland, we're not reviewing, distances to shoreland, nothing that exists outside of subdivision. We're within subdivision. So pretty narrow. And I think we've been doing a pretty good job of staying there. But I think we don't want to muddy the water by bringing up a lot of stuff that just doesn't need to be added to the conversation. In my opinion, this entrance issue is borderline at best. It could be argued, I think, that it's not within the bounds of subdivision. So, I'm happy to talk about anything we want to talk about as long as we're in the bounds. Guardrails on.
Yeah, and I think a good way to do this I'm just trying to highlight some of the new information when we're going through these documents and pointing out what new information has been given, but I think by reviewing the standards in the ordinance and kind of looking at that, what information do we have? Do we have enough information?
Yeah.
That, can keep things
Yeah.
more or less focused.
It is very confusing when we're just doing subdivision because subdivision is not site review. Okay. No, they don't, in this particular instance, in this application, there's no overlap. We're not doing site review. But it's hard to not want to consider the site review standards when we're talking about just subdivision. But we're literally only in article, whatever article that is, the administration article 6, 7, section 12. That's where we are. A through God. I can never remember.
Yes.
You.
A
Yeah.
lot of them.
That was gonna be my point, still, A through U cover broad issues, yes.
But they
Pretty
don't
expensive, right?
include site review.
Yeah, yes.
But I think because I think that it is confusing, and this is where it's like the house that was applied for and that was approved by the code enforcement officer was a separate application that did not depend on subdivision. There is a lot existing legal application came in for a house. Every application that comes in for a house in rural is reviewed by a code enforcement officer. So the code enforcement officer reviewed it like any other against whatever standards are there, the same standards that any other house is going to be reviewed for and permitted it. So I think it's relevant for the planning board to understand that splitting lots, there's gonna people we know, but also there's gonna be development on it. That when you're looking at a lot and it's gonna get split in 10, you assume, great, you have to understand that the development likely will happen on it, and it's here not likely that it's going to be a 30-unit apartment building. It's likely going to be a house. And think about that. There's this there is a house that's probably going to be, and we don't know exactly what it may be under our ordinance, probably could even have 2 units in it, but it's not going to be a 30-unit building. And kind of looking at it that way and saying okay, well, there's potential that comes with splitting, more potential that comes with splitting a lot. That's what I think everybody can consider, but we don't need to worry about, like Ben said, shoreline zoning, because the code enforcement officer reviews houses and makes sure that they're not in conflict with shoreline zoning and not in conflict with anything, any other standards.
So what's the scope of our attention tonight?
The division of the applicant's lot in 2,
Okay,
and basically that,
Items
and the
A through
implications
U.
that may
Of subdivision.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Now,
A through U.
Which it's worth pointing out are verbatim copied from state law, yes?
Yeah, but somewhat.
I think it was modified slightly. It's not verbatim.
But close.
It's relatively close.
Yeah. Just to put perspective on this, what I'm trying to make is this is not just some sort of snobby anti-development local, we don't want you doing any of this because of that. And these are state mandated criterion for
Yes.
review.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to it because this bigger lot was already divided once, so it makes it when you divide it one more time within the 5 years, it makes it 3, which those are the subdivision.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not that she's divided into 3, but because of the sale of
Because
the
of history.
initial.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So within that 5 years, it's gonna be.
It's not really her fault that she owns it now.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Sorry.
Then when you have to come in front of us.
That is 100% correct.
Sorry.
If it
Right.
waited another 2 or 3 years, this wouldn't even come in front of us.
5 years.
If 5 years.
Right.
I mean, do whatever you want, right?
That's right.
Then it's just goes to the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
On the other hand, that's not the case here, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. We have to follow the rules,
And
right?
that's what exactly, that's what we're doing. That's why we're looking at this, because technically a subdivision, we're looking at it that way.
We have to, it's within 5 years.
But I just wanted to make it clear that there's a wide difference between site review and subdivision if you're just staying within the bounds of subdivision, and we're not. If the application had included 10 lot splits and 40 units.
Hmm.
We'd be doing subdivision, we'd be doing everything.
Right.
Literally, right? Here, we're literally just within subdivision, so, that's all. Okay. Yes.
Beth Smith, who had raised her hand, I don't know if you want to.
Oh, great. Okay, yeah, I really.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Hi, I'm
Yeah,
maybe the
yeah.
voice from the ceiling. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Beth Smith. I'm legal counsel to Den Ray and Ray Fitch. He's an abutter, the neighbor.
Great.
There, yeah,
Thank you for
there
joining
were
us.
some technical issues with the Zoom link last meeting that prevented me from attending, but I'm here now, and I did share some responsive comments with Michael Martone yesterday, which he had said would get into your packets for tonight's meetings. I appreciate that you likely have not had a chance to review and digest those, which is understandable. So I just invite you to please review those remarks.
Yeah, and
As you
that
consider the application. I just wanted to take one moment here to respond to a couple of items that were raised at the last meeting and that are coming up again here. The first is, yeah, I've heard and appreciate and understand the discussion around low density residential development. This isn't a 40, 50, 100 unit residential subdivision. So, it doesn't necessarily justify subdivision conditions on approval related to screening or other matters. You may take those up for a greater density residential development, but perhaps not appropriate here. And I would just want to flag for the board that, respectfully, low density residential development is not always low impact residential development. There's, natural vegetative buffers in this context and in connection with this particular application are not merely aesthetic. Although I do note in Ms. Shattuck's, letter that, aesthetics, she's raised as perhaps the driving force behind, Den Ray's request for buffering here, and that's not the case. Buffers in this context would function as a mitigation measure on visual impacts, for sure, but they also preserve scenic continuity here along the river. They will help to restore habitats and wildlife, for a lot that has been completely clear cut in anticipation of this development. And I would say that level 3 screening is proportional to those impacts that are already created. Again, I appreciate that this is an application for subdivision. It is a narrow review, as you said. I acknowledge and appreciate that. But without a screening condition now, the board has no assurance that the subdivision as approved will avoid undue scenic and environmental impacts, which is a condition on approval, at this stage. And conditions on approval, excuse me, is how the board, makes that particular finding, as part of the subdivision review. So I just want to be clear about that item and reiterate, as the town attorney said in the last meeting, that the board does have every right to impose a screening condition at this stage. It's appropriate. And I think, level 3 screening is reasonable and proportional to the impacts, on the site as it exists today. It's consistent with residential development in sensitive locations. And the impacts are already present. They can and should be addressed as part of subdivision review. It's well within the board's discretion. And Denry just urges the board to exercise that discretion. I'm here to answer any questions, but I do want to make sure that, the board is comfortable, with that item, which is, I do understand that we are at subdivision review stage. It's an early stage, and it is appropriate to have the screening discussion now.
I think what might be helpful is, let me just identify the other materials that are added, and we can go through them or not, but it probably is relevant. So I want to point them out and then go through the standards, because I think it'll be easier to talk about what information is relevant when we actually have the standard in front of us.
Yeah.
So there are, let's see. Let me share my screen again here. And we'll try and.
What document are you starting with?
So there's another document that it should be right below the email correspondence with applicant from December 3rd. There's one that is December 11th called house location. And then there's another one from December 11th called houses in vicinity. And I'll put them up on the screen here so that everybody can see. This is, again, the applicant has provided this to show just here's the location where the applicant's considering putting houses or for what it's worth. There's that.
Could you go back to that one?
Sure. I'm not sure that there really is any particularly relevant information on this, because we're not considering where
Sure, that I thought was important there. You can see how forested the shoreland is, and how far away the two houses that I would like to build are from the shore.
Yep.
But that's, really, it really is a good dense amount of forest along the shore there.
And we can come back to all of the whatever information is in here. I just want to identify that it's here. These are the houses that the applicants identified that are on the property, and then in addition to the two that the applicant is considering. And there are the other four that are on these, I guess, two roads there. We'll come back to that. There is this email from Beth Smith, who's representing Denray LLC, the abutter, which we can again come back to and discuss any other points that Beth hasn't already addressed. And then there is a letter from Mike Titus, which, don't let me speak for you, but I included it with the materials because I think it's relevant to the application here, but I think it also is the kind of broader, like how the board operates, and so I included it in here because I think it's relevant and I want to share with the board, and it may be part of the conversation, but we can also have the kind of bigger process conversation separate from this application, depending on what's appropriate. So that's also in your packet. I believe that is everything that is since the last meeting. Any questions about what is in the packet? Sorry, I'm trying to switch to the findings of fact here. Let me.
Now you're doing subdivision finding of fact and conclusion of law 2025.12.11.
That is, yes, what I just put up and okay. Just wanted that to be up there. Let me get back to that document. The draft findings of fact, yes, from, let's see, what was it? Dated. December 11th. I've got my editable one up here, so as we talk, I can edit it. But yes, from December 11th is the last version that I'd sent out to you, and that's what I'm looking at here. We can go through all of that.
Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Is one very quick question. The findings of fact, the first sentence at the top there, for the application for a building permit submitted, is that
Oh. Yep.
that's not, I said to myself,
Subdivision.
yeah, it should be subdivision, right? Yeah.
That is absolutely right. Sorry, that was I try and copy and paste this.
Copy and
so-
paste,
so-
yes, I get it, yeah, I
so-
know, you just happened to know those.
Good catch.
Most of these are December 11th. Which document am I looking at?
It should be the first, it should be 3A00, subdivision finding FOF and COL.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Everybody good? All right.
Okay,
All right.
so I'm gonna change that to application for subdivision, right under findings of fact and conclusion of law. So, I
The
believe,
only issue I noticed.
okay, that, so far, we can go through, I don't wanna take up everybody's time, I wanna make sure we go through, nothing on the first page changed, let's see, application information, the reviews, I believe we already discussed that there's no conflict of interest,
We did.
but is that still true? Any conflicts? Okay, seeing none, I will update that to say that none were identified. Core zoning code, general standards, district standards, the lots, reiterate, Coastal Rivers lot is a third lot that triggered this, so it's in here, but their frontage and the two lots that are proposed have 418 feet, 435 feet, and 251 feet. The standard is 250 feet, so all of them should have more than enough frontage. And I don't know if this is a point of topic to discuss, but Mike raised it, so I just want to address it. No buildings are proposed under this application. There was a building that was proposed and it was approved by the code enforcement officer as all buildings in this this district are. We know, we can assume anyway, I don't think it's a secret that another house will probably be proposed. It is not proposed yet. Yeah, and I think, so we don't have any details on that, but that's. And I will say also, Coastal Rivers, I think, doesn't have an intention of keeping this property. I think they also, I don't think they're gonna build a house, I think they plan to sell it and someone else may build a house.
Outside the scope.
So.
Yeah.
This,
That works the water.
okay,
And just to back up, I do want to clarify that all the points I brought up, I feel are resolved, it's just that the fact that they
yeah,
happened.
no, I think it's better to
To
discuss
justify
anything,
it,
make sure, get it on the record and that's,
Yeah.
Okay, so. Pre-submittal meeting, there's a number of things in here that are highlighted in green. Those were from the last meeting that were updated. I'll identify, there's some stuff in here in yellow that I updated since the last meeting and I'll point those out, so. Obviously, we can stop and discuss any of these, but so page 4. Nothing's changed in terms of public hearing was on November 20th. If it hasn't been closed, I'll update that to note that the public hearing will continue through this meeting. Let me just highlight that too. It's, the- Okay, page 5. I think I already mentioned this, but there's a spot under there for authority. And it basically is just that I met with the fire chief and the applicant incorporated his comment about a turnaround into the subdivision. And then other than that, he was satisfied. That also is where the road commissioner, which we already had at the last meeting, but his email that basically said he had no comments. His review of the application was, he basically, no, it looked good, no comment. Move forward as the planning board sees fit. I haven't updated, we discussed the aesthetic on page 7. This is the aesthetic, cultural, and natural values. We can go back. I just want to identify the changes. I updated that fall at the, with the last meeting. And there was discussion on that, and we can, if it does not reflect the board's findings, we can update. Timber harvesting, we discussed at the last meeting as well. And then I believe
Page 9, right?
Yep.
You're already up to 9.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm scrolling looking
Yeah,
for
we're skipping through.
10. I don't believe, okay, and then that basically gets us to just determining its complete application and everything else. So well, I don't know, I'll just read the titles of the standards, and you, if you want to discuss standards of this code or the ordinance as they're applicable. Yeah.
Sorry, you finished reviewing the entire document?
Yeah, and now I'm just going to back.
Yep.
Page 5, approval standards, and we can go through A, B, C, D, E, F, and if there's anything you want to discuss. But yeah, go ahead.
Just before you do that, in the to be printed on the final approval subdivision plan number 2.
Oh,
There already,
I don't remember
let me
seeing that
go down.
before.
That is a good point.
It's new.
To be printed, I think that was on there. I don't believe that we added that. Kathleen, that wasn't. I think that was already on the subdivision plan for the last meeting.
It was there.
All principal structures would be above the flood zone.
It struck me that I hadn't seen it before.
Yes, that's written right on the plan.
And then the no residential dwelling units can be constructed. That was the applicant put that on there. It's true. I don't think that's really needs to be on the subdivision plan, because even if it wasn't in subdivision, if your lot's not bit wide enough, then you can't build within the subdivision, the shoreline zone. So, but it's on here, belt and suspenders.
Yeah, upon review, I thought that struck me as being new, but
Yeah.
it must have been.
No, I believe that
version of
was-
the document.
That was on there.
Okay.
But, okay, so now I'm just gonna go back up and go through the approval standards and just stop me if there's anything that,
I might just short circuit you a little
go
bit,
ahead, yeah, go.
because we're gonna go through this and vote on them anyway.
Okay.
And I'll ask for discussion at that point when we get to that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do it twice.
No, I think that makes perfect.
I think we can jump right to the meat and potatoes. There's really 2 issues, I think, that we still have yet to sort of, finish discussing before we move on to voting.
Okay.
One is, the road, the traffic
Mhm.
section, which is item of the subdivision review is item what? G, traffic, right?
Yep.
And the other one is the aesthetics, which is item J. Those are really the 2, I think, that we're wrestling with. So let's start with traffic. The reason we had tabled last meeting was about this traffic situation, right? And whether or not the planning board had the authority to impose on the developer to improve pre-existing road leading to a subdivision, essentially at the end of that road in a residential context. And town attorney is now here. And I believe agrees that yes, the planning board does have that authority.
Mhm.
The question for us is whether that's reasonable to consider or not. I think.
Yeah, I think the first thing is what's the standard in the ordinance, and which I think is a kind of specific one, and then there's always the like. Bigger, is this gonna have a, you know, health, safety and welfare of the community kind of thing, so.
So the way it reads, we'll just read it again. Item G. The proposed subdivision will not cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of the highways or public roads, existing or proposed. If the proposed subdivision requires driveways or entrances onto a state or state aid highway, the Department of Transportation has provided documentation indicating that the driveways or entrances meet Title 23, Section 704. That's our standard. So the question before us is if we accept that the subdivision as proposed will create unreasonable or unsafe conditions with respect to the state aid road called River Road.
Highways are public roads.
Right.
Or, yeah.
And so if we, you know, break this down to brass tacks, we're talking about adding 2 units to the White Road, potentially.
Two lots.
Two lots.
Yeah.
We're only talking about lots. 2 lots to White Road. Does that create unreasonable highway or public road congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of the highway or public road? I do not.
It's in respect of River Road.
Well, like, because River Road is a state aid road. Correct. Like getting on and off that state or state aid road. So hold on just a second. I will call on you in a second. So just to be clear, the question is adding, you know, allowing the approving the application and the lot split to create 2 more lots, would it? And we've heard a lot from folks that an unsafe condition exists. Is it reasonable to place conditions on the developer or on the approval of the subdivision? I'm not even gonna say developer. On the approval of the subdivision, that must be rectified because it creates more of an unsafe condition. And I'll just throw my opinion out there right now and I'd say no, absolutely not. Talking about a rural road. We're taking 1 lot, we're turning it into 2 lots. That happens all the time on every small rural road in Newcastle and our neighboring towns. We're not talking about 10 lots, 20 lots, 30 lots. We're talking about 1 lot split. And I would say that if we were to attach that as a condition of approval, it sets a very dangerous precedent that any lot split in rural on any road that feeds to a state or state aid road must then follow the same consideration. And it doesn't, nor should it. And it's only because this 3rd lot split in 5 years has triggered subdivision that we're even having this conversation.
Well, the thing that I've been thinking about since last meeting is if you put in a situation where the road needs to be improved, everyone on the road benefits from that, right? A lot of the people benefit from that road being improved.
You're talking about White Road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Potentially at the expense of the development.
Well, and so one person's bearing the expense of improving something for all the people that live on the
But
road.
that's not gonna change the effect of going onto the state highway road,
Right.
the entrance, and that's what we're talking about.
I understand,
We're
I
not talking about-
understand
We're
that.
talking about the entrance onto the state aid road.
Which,
Expanding railroad is not gonna change the
Yeah.
difference. That's something the state has to
right.
deal with at some point.
I just want to say, I'm looking at Title 23, Section 704, and I could never possibly interpret it as a citizen. I don't know if you could for us, but it's legalese.
Well, and I would just say that there, if that is addressing driveways and entrances onto a public or highway or public road,
Yeah,
that there's no entrance proposed onto a highway or
Right,
public road, right? So it's not
so
as
what you're
though,
saying is we're not even dealing with this realm of.
Yeah.
legality, is what you're saying.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
I'm just trying to understand.
The applicant herself has acknowledged that it is an unsafe entrance or exit onto the state road by reaching out to DOT. It is not wide enough. She herself acknowledged that.
I don't think anyone's denying that. We acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I also had some to add. The only reason we're bringing up safety at all, because it was safe before, is the increase in traffic that this will cause. And the passing of vehicles on White Road.
Well,
The initial building of the road was for a single dwelling
And
40,
there's another,
8 years ago.
there's another part to it that's behind the scenes that's not known, is the lot directly abutting us is being sold, so there is another house going in. On top.
we can't consider that.
And
And
when,
this is part of the guardrails
also-
conversation.
but
We gotta-
also-
Yeah, I
Guardrails
got that. I just wanted the board to be aware that there's
We
gonna
can
be
be-
another house on top of that.
I understand that.
On
We
White
but
can't-
even as the board was discussing it and showing the property lots and for the abutting houses, Michael pointed out that there were 2 roads that came into it. There are not. That other road that you were discussing that belongs to Ray Fitch, that is a private road that nobody else has access to. The only reason why for the current existing White Road, it is the Newells and Ray and now Coastal Rivers, those are the only people that own the road. The rest of it is easement.
Oh.
She doesn't own it. She has an easement.
Oh,
We don't
yeah.
own it. We have an easement.
that's kind of,
But-
okay.
That needs to be taken into consideration, as you say about the safety of it. The road was never intended for extra traffic, and this will bring extra traffic. It already does.
I'm not sure you can say what the road was built intended for. I'm not sure that's clear, right?
Yeah. Peter,
Can we ask the applicant how many houses are on the road presently? On the White Road?
It's.
There's 2
There's
existing.
2.
Yeah.
There's 2.
but we're not, again, guys.
Yeah.
Guardrails.
No,
They're
This
not
is
guardrails. This-
subdivision.
No.
We're not talking
We were just bringing
about,
up the safety issue that a subdivision would spark, that's all. That's all we're bringing up, we're sorry.
no, it's understandable and regrettable. But it's arguably not reasonable. In my opinion, I'm not speaking for the board here, but in my opinion, it is unreasonable to apply a condition of approval to a subdivision, which is tantamount to taking one lot and splitting it into 2 lots, a simple lot division. And making the applicant saying either, no, we deny the application entirely because a safety condition existed before you even considered purchasing the property. That's unreasonable and should be challengeable by anyone, and we would lose. It's an unreasonable taking, I think is the term. We'd be denying, we'd be taking away development rights for a parcel of land that without good cause. Am I wrong, counsel?
So there are kind of 2 ways I would think about it. The first way is to say that it sounds essentially unfair to impose upon a developer or even a subdivider to upgrade an entire road when there already exists a method for the neighborhood that uses the road, the different users, to upgrade the road if they feel it's unsafe. And in a way that would share the expense among all the lots.
But that's out, you're talking about a road association agreement?
Yeah, I am, but
That's still outside the bounds.
no.
of
Well,
what
let
we're
me
doing.
tell you why I think it's not outside the bounds. If what you had was a situation where, as you were saying, you have one house and there was remaining land and people were coming in on a road and you said, well, there are going to be 30 lots. I believe the town would have the power in that case to require an upgrade of the road. But I think that.
Under what, and the reason being,
So I don't think that, yeah, it's impossible to understand that having 30 lots exit along a road that is wide enough for perhaps one car only would cause congestion on River Road as they enter the road, because there could be cars trying to turn in and there could be cars trying to turn out. But in a case where you're going from 2 to 4, I don't think that you've increased the volume of traffic enough to get into a situation where you have to say as a planning board, this is gonna impact River Road.
well, that's a subjective opinion that I think we have to vote on.
I agree that it's subjective, but you have some discretion as the planning board to have subjective opinions about stuff like that. And so my point is that, I agree with what you're saying, that the subdivision itself does not seem to implicate River Road because of the scale, in my opinion, it's because of the scale of what the application is. It is not unthinkable, and what I'm trying to preserve for the planning board is the authority to have its full power if there were a different scale and you were looking at a different impact on River Road.
And I appreciate that. I'm attempting to limit the planning board's power to abuse its power.
No, and I don't disagree with that, but I think that's what I'm saying. I don't think in this case, if we're going with your theory that this is, I'm not sure that it's beyond the scope is what I'm saying, but I think that it's within the discretion of the planning board to make a reasonable decision that preserves the future planning board power in the case of a large subdivision. But still makes a reasonable decision on this application. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just kind of, tell me if this is wrong. If we were looking at 10, 20, 30 lots at the end of
But
this
we're
road.
not.
Right, then the planning board, it's like, yeah, okay, that is a different level, and I think that that's where the planning board has to determine, like, when does that line get crossed? And that's because I think if it was a 30 lot subdivision, the planning board might say, yeah, you know what, like this is too much for a 1-lane road. I think the planning board can say, I think that in this situation, planning board has to determine, like, when is that nexus arrived at
Right.
of needing to upgrade, and is it the splitting of 1 lot into 2? Is that does that trigger, or is it the splitting of 1 into 10 or a splitting of 1 into 20? I think that's the question.
All right, I think we've got all the facts of the question sort of laid out. Does anyone have any comments they want to add to that hasn't been mentioned before? All right, we're gonna move on. Yes, you have something that hasn't been mentioned before?
I think so.
Okay.
Just that it's going to increase the dwellings that use the road by just one house, if I have subdivision approval. Because there already is one house, so it's already going to be the 2 original houses plus the house that I'm building. And if I have subdivision approval, it's just going to increase it by 1 more house. That's all.
Okay, so you have something to add?
Yeah, I just, does the one house that is proposed on the subdivision, is it going to be a duplex?
No, it is not. There's
So
going
it's
to
a
be
single family.
a single family home, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths,
The new.
about 21, maybe 2.
Sound the bounds, guys.
That I think is beyond, I think that's beyond the bounds of the
We're
application.
outside subdivision at the moment.
Yeah.
That's site review.
She has the right to build whatever the code allows on that lot,
Yeah, correct.
which could be whatever, but.
Yeah.
Could be 3 units.
And we just shouldn't take that, I mean, in some ways, it's fine to discuss it, but the need to know that information has literally no bearing on what we need to think about and approve or disapprove tonight. That's what I meant by guardrails. Right? So we're gonna put item G to bed until we vote on it. We're gonna move on to item J. Aesthetics, so I'll just read it again. Aesthetic, cultural, and natural values. The proposed subdivision will not have an undue adverse effect on the scenic or natural beauty of the area, aesthetics, historic sites, significant wildlife habitat identified by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife or the municipality, or rare and irreplaceable natural areas, or any public rights for physical or visual access to the shoreline. Okay. So I don't rehash this entirely. We've already said a lot about this at previous meetings. The argument in a nutshell is, of course it will. The decision that we have to come to is whether or not the proposed subdivision will have an undue adverse effect or not. So now, I really struggle with this one. I really struggle with it because the way that it's written and the way that I read it in English, to me actually says that we have to have something that's identified by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife or by the municipality as a rare and irreplaceable natural area of for any public rights or physical visual access to the shoreline in order for that to have an impact. That's how I read it.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong.
Okay, so my argument here is that I don't think we can make that argument. I can't agree that it does because we have consulted with the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, and we have no standards within the municipality that I can point to demonstrate that it would.
Well, that provision stops someone from putting a parking lot next to the Lincoln home in that open field that goes to the water, because that's one of your designated viewpoints to the water.
Yes.
It would potentially, prevent someone from, blocking a view shed to, God, what's it called now? Deer Meadow Brook. There's a spot on Deer Meadow Brook that's designated.
Yeah, there's a new designation in Sheepsket on
Right.
what's called the Commons,
Yes,
Sheepsket Village.
correct.
Same concept.
And so that's what that provision controls, not is this gonna change the nature a little bit in this neighborhood or even a significant amount.
And the danger, I think, of interpreting it the other way is that if we were to accept that the aesthetics are changed for, again, what is tantamount to a single lot split, then we would have to accept that same premise for any lot split in anywhere in the same district as being worthy of aesthetic consideration. And that is expressly not the intent of the comprehensive plan nor the code.
I think that point of applying whatever standards are identified here and carrying it across to any other application in any other situation I think that's important. And sometimes you have to kind of like take a step back and say, how might this apply in a different situation? Obviously, we're applying it to this, but sometimes you kind of reality check yourself, like, can we apply this fairly and consistently, in another situation? And
Yeah, I'm not
The board has
talking
to
about
do
setting a
that.
precedent. We wouldn't look at this decision when considering future applications and point to it and say, well, we decided this way here, so we must decide this way on this new application. I'm not saying that.
right.
What I'm saying though is that if we accept the premise, then we must accept that same premise in future applications.
Right. Mhm.
And I don't personally buy that because of the way that I read it. Again, I haven't done you nothing.
Yeah, and that's, I will say, I checked and I can, beginning with habitat is, the state's main map viewer that you can look at, and they identify bird wading habitat and rare or endangered habitat and environmentally sensitive areas, deer wintering grounds. And none of that is identified on this property. There are plenty of places in Newcastle that is the case, but this this parcel, it's nothing identified there. So.
Yeah. And while I do accept that the planning board has the authority to apply conditions such as buffering or screening. I can't understand, I do not see the necessity for it here. Personally. I don't see a standard that tells me that it should be applied in a meaningful way. I understand that it's desired by abutters, and I understand that.
And I think when we wrote the code, we put places where buffers were needed specifically so that it would save the view or whatever, but certainly not in this district.
Yeah. Sorry, Michael, go ahead.
I mean, all of this is very, ambiguously worded, which is what makes it so difficult, right? Yeah, I mean, just the workshop that I just listened in on a couple weeks ago, it says subdivision law is meant to protect consumers and prevent development near wildlife habitats and wetlands. It specifically identifies those as being the criterion for subdivision. See, it kind of aligns with what's being talked about. So I see all these contradictions in the wording of various places. It's that you can go either way very easily in your.
It seems to me that here the request for a visual screen is so that the house is not visible.
Yeah, which really
So that a potential
doesn't fall
maybe
into
the future
that
house is not visible. And subdivision doesn't require that. And our comprehensive plan doesn't require that. As you mentioned, there's places in our code where we require screening. But it's specifically not so you can't see the neighbor's house.
Well, except perhaps at Mills Road.
And it comes up, it doesn't come up at the subdivision level. Like, what are you proposing to do? I mean, what you're proposing to do, you may have to screen. But not by virtue of simple subdivision.
Yeah, I think that's something that's important too. You're absolutely right that these standards are state statute and state laid them out. Screening, the need for screening usually is from a development that comes up. It's usually kind of like I think about it more as a site plan issue. And I understand, like, a lot of these standards do read, they kind of conflate site plan and subdivision and actual division of land a lot, which is frustrating. And I think that makes sense when you're talking about a large, like a when people think about subdivision, the way people use it colloquially, it's like, cul-de-sacs and a large division of land. It's not a lot split. And so I think when you were getting at these smaller scale things, the logic kind of is a weird fit. And then I'm done, and I just want to mention Ben whenever Beth Smith has her.
Great, yeah, sorry, I can't see it from
Yeah,
here.
so I just want to let you know.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead, Beth.
I just want to be clear that I hear the commentary about screening as, in furtherance of aesthetics, right? And I'm not an environmental lawyer or expert. I'm not offering expert testimony here on that matter, but I can say with some degree of certainty here and reasonable inference that densely wooded areas in shoreland zones provide all manner of habitat functions for wildlife that are disrupted, and wildlife is displaced when they are cleared. And natural vegetative screens, while they do offer aesthetic benefits, also help to restore some of that disrupted structure and habitat over time. They preserve scenic continuity, and they ensure that future development is integrated into surroundings rather than imposed upon its surroundings. And so I would just urge everyone to think about, the value and benefit and purpose of buffering over and above aesthetics. I did see the aerial photograph of the the vegetation that's already there. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that this lot, in having been completely clear cut, has suffered significant disruption and a condition on approval that requires revegetation in some of those areas to restore disrupted wildlife and habitat, I think is an important consideration. And I haven't heard that in this discussion. I hear a lot about aesthetics. I have not heard a lot about those other impacts. And I would say that, it is a screening condition now, gives the board assurance that the subdivision as approved will avoid undue environmental impacts. And I do read the standard that way. That's all I wanted to offer on that item.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Lucas.
So the way I interpret it with is saying that growth subdivision will not have an undue adverse effect on the scenic and natural beauty. This property has already been cut by a previous owner, not this applicant. This, I don't see this changing what's already, we have to go based off what's currently there.
Right.
We're not talking about an area that's forested, we're talking about an area that has already been cut.
Yep.
So this subdivision, I don't see changing it any worse than what it currently is at.
In the absence that designation from Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, we don't have a metric to figure out what sort of wildlife impact a subdivision is gonna have. We don't have a way of measuring that.
And if they had one, we asked them, they would have given it to us. And they didn't.
You did ask them, didn't you?
Well, that's a separate, the DEP did get involved and they looked at the site and they said, we got a complaint and we looked into this and we were told there were wetlands and vernal pool, and they looked into it and basically said this, I guess it's relevant, but it's not the same issue. Basically what they said was, this was a gravel pit, so any vernal pools or wetlands would have been man-made, and that is not, basically, like, they don't protect or regulate man-made vernal pools and man-made wetlands, so they essentially said, okay, yeah, we've looked into it and we're not worried about development in this area. I'm sure that it wasn't, we don't care any development in this area. I think it's, we're not talking about.
Or perhaps they said the vernal pool was man-made, so it wasn't under their jurisdiction.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
If perhaps you're confused as to what we're talking about the way that it looked before it was clear cut, pull up Google Earth for the property. It still shows it as a heavily dense wooded area.
But they're not talking about.
Yeah,
I know,
You're
but
talking about it
that's the
currently.
but that, I understand that you're talking about it currently. But please give yourself the moment to take a look at it of where it was less than just a few years ago. And that's where the difficulty, I think, for us, and even for, I'm not trying to speak for Ray, but please be considerate of where we are perhaps coming from. Just pull up Google Earth. It hasn't updated it to the current condition that it is in now. Please pull it up and take a look and see how heavily wooded it was. And I want you to consider what the natural habitat and density and population possibly was. Please just take that into consideration.
So I'm not sure that. Well, I understand and appreciate the concern, and I don't love the state's timber harvesting and clearing standards. The situation is that the state has kind of put municipalities on a leash that you can't tell, we don't regulate timber harvesting because the state doesn't, I don't believe the state lets us. And so it's like the town may want to put any rules and say that we don't want the clearing, but the fact is the clearing is not the issue. That's happened, as Lucas said, and the town, it's not because of some oversight that the town made, or it was permitted by the state. That happened legally. And now we're looking at, so I think that Lucas's point is correct, that you gotta look at, the applicant is talking about building a house on the current lot. And, personally, I feel like the loss of habitat is lamentable, but to be fair to the applicant and to property owners, you can't put the burden of restoring habitat on a new owner or.
Yeah, all right, so go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was directly to your point, this is precisely what is called liquidation harvesting. And the state has a law that it prevents people from doing this very thing, which does not apply to land that's less than 20 acres.
Yeah.
So they
That's
were
one
able
of,
to do it through, the state absolutely wants to address this issue but their limit is, I think, 20 acres for the max. So what they did was,
amongst other things,
legal.
that's
Yeah,
one
other
of.
thing, that's one issue.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Has the board been allowed to view the DEP application, the review that the DEP did?
It is in the packet that I've shared with you.
Because last time we had the meeting, you brought up the fact that there was a permitting issue.
Oh, I think the DEP may go after, is gonna look into the person who did clear the land and make sure that, I'm not sure if it was that they needed possibly a main, construction general permit. But basically my understanding is that if you do something wrong and then sell the property, even if that was, legal, they're not going after this property, or they're gonna come find you and make sure that you are held responsible.
I thought if there was an issue and another person purchased it, nothing could be done on their property for an extended length of time.
5 years.
That's the liquidation harvesting does kind of fit that, where this,
But there's already a permitted house that's being constructed on it.
well, what the state does, as far as my understanding about the liquidation harvesting is that the state does not want people, timber harvesters, mostly it's large scale, but buying property, clear cutting it, and then selling it within 5 years. Oh, that's what they don't want. The exception is for small property, well, what we'll call small is 20 acres, and that's one of several exceptions. And so that question is, this property is exempt from that, so they don't, the concern about, I guess, clear cutting less than 20 acres and selling it immediately is, I guess, not a concern for the state. So,
So that shouldn't be a concern for the town.
well, the ordinance,
To follow state.
yeah, the ordinance requires the state statute and the ordinance require that the planning board look at that and consider and confirm that liquidation harvesting has not occurred. And the board, we can look at this and we've discussed it, and what I have said is liquidation harvesting has not occurred because the way that the state's rules are on this explicitly exempt property under 20 acres. So it's not a subjective question of whether that's good or bad. The planning board just had, what's the standard? Has liquidation harvested happened? Has it happened? As far as I can tell, no. I mean, that's up to you all to decide, but I think it's fairly.
No, to the extent that it wasn't more than 20 acres.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
As far as the
So
state
what keeps some
regulation.
guy from going around and buying up lots of lots that are under 20 acres?
Right.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah,
If
well.
That's what he's doing.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, I
Get
wanna,
it fixed.
I wanna put the guardrails back on real quick.
All right.
That's all right, it's a good question,
Yeah.
but I think,
Can we just quickly read from the purpose of that actual statute, right? It says, the purchase of timberland followed, what liquidation harvesting is, the purchase of timberland followed by a harvest that removes most or all commercial value in standing timber without regard for long-term forest management principles, and the subsequent sale or attempted resale of the harvested land within 5 years. That's the definition. And then there's a list of exemptions, and exemption G does not apply. The parcel contains less than 20 acres of forested land is exempt.
so,
So it's exempt.
It's exempt.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
The state law doesn't protect us in this regard, yeah.
this is my concern with things like this, because, I'm not happy with the way that the law is written. If you're not happy with the way the law is written, then we should change the way that the law is written. Until that happens, this is what we have to work with. And I will never argue in favor of subjectively applying the law just because we want it to be different. End of story.
Yeah.
So I can sympathize, I can commiserate as much as I personally want to. But I will not endorse a course of action that subjectively applies the law because we just don't like it.
I would add to that, and Peter can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure the planning board has authority to subjectively apply standards that are not in the ordinance, that the state doesn't mandate. The planning board is limited to the ordinance. That's what needs to be applied and as written.
And if
So,
we choose to do more than that, we shouldn't be setting on this planet.
Well, if you choose to do more than that, you violated their civil rights.
Exactly.
So
We have to go by what we.
that's a big problem.
Big problem.
Big.
However, I would like to say that I'm happy to defend those, they're federal court matters. They're extremely. I would probably require the hiring of at least 2 associates.
For a modest fee, right?
If you wanna get into it, I mean, we can give it a shot.
We'll fight the law, we'll fight the law. But I'm serious, I'm not saying any of that, you know. Jokingly or unseriously, we don't like the law, then it is up to us to change it. But until that time, this is what we have to work with, so. I'm gonna move
And the
this,
point being, there is no law that.
there is no law, and so when
At
it
this
comes
point, we're
to.
kind of, our hands are tied.
Yeah, when it comes to, you know, considering this, considering that, my question is always how? How do we do that? How do we do that in a way that is consistent with the law? We need to have a standard to point to, something that we know is fair and equitable, not just for this application, but for all applications. Unless or until we have that, we can have the conversation, but we must do our best to uphold what we've got.
Like it or not.
Like it or not. I'm gonna move this conversation now and move to close the public hearing portion of this review. Do I have a second? No?
Can I just raise one more thing?
Okay, is it something that we haven't discussed?
Yes.
Okay,
Under, number 7 on public hearing. Under A, it says if a public hearing is required, which this is one, correct?
yes,
Then notifications shall be published in the Lake County News and mailed out. No abutters were ever mailed anything. The only reason I knew about this is I got told that this was taking place. And I don't know about, and maybe Beth could speak for Ray.
Every other meeting, we got a certified letter. We did not receive any notification.
For this meeting,
For this
specifically this meeting.
Specifically this-
No abutters were received.
Yeah, no, and I believe that it's really just the first meeting of an application.
Well,
That
it
needs to
states
be-
in public
Yeah,
hearings that it needs to be mailed out.
and you got one was mailed out.
We never closed that
Yeah.
one.
So it's basically when what
But I
the note-
received 2, one for each one,
And-
and
well-
this one I did not, so.
Well, that's because the first one was a mistake. My
well, no,
mistake.
and this is a continuation of the previous public hearing. We tabled it. This isn't a new public hearing.
Right,
This is a continuation of the previous public hearing.
there,
We talked
but
about.
there were 2 notices that went out because the first meeting. We noticed before this had ever come to the board in anticipation, well, not in anticipation, because I had stupidly forgotten or overlooked the requirement for a pre-submittal meeting. So we had already gotten the ball rolling. We got out ahead of our skis, and then they came to the planning board, and the planning board said, no. Right, just justifiably, I think correctly, said never, no. So we went back to square one. That notice that you got was a mistake. If in a perfect world, you would not have gotten a mistake for that meeting, then the last meeting, there was public notice that went out, posted in the newspaper, that one was correct. We do have the certified receipts for that. So then that is the one that satisfies the standard, and even if this meeting. If the application isn't approved and you continued the public hearing, my understanding is that. The notice for the last meeting is what was required. And then after that, it's up to the public and interested parties to follow and maintain their follow the process.
Maybe it should just be written in, because the way it's written, I expected that at every public meeting, the abutter would be notified via mail.
Okay.
And it's not stated that way in the,
Doesn't say upon continuation.
just wanted to bring that
Would
up.
it be
Okay,
beneficial to
sorry.
table something to mention that because it was tabled, the hearing is still ongoing?
We'll pick
Or is it?
Well, I think we did.
What did
We said we'll be talking about it. We tabled it for the next meeting. To continue
Okay,
with a couple of comments that Peter was gonna follow up on, which we got answers to today.
In your opinion and in your opinion, have we met the burden of public notice?
100%.
Thank you for asking. That's always a good thing to clarify. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
second.
All in favor? Okay, we're gonna move into. Sorry,
Just
second.
just for the mic, so when the meetings, the minutes are being done, Ben motioned, Scott seconded.
Thank you.
Not-
So we're gonna go into review, and before we do, since we have the benefit of our attorney with us. The last time we did this. You weren't with us, and we read the entirety of every single A through U. And voted on them each individually and separately.
Yep.
I would like to propose that we combine the ones that do not apply.
You
Into
can
a
do that.
single vote. Vote on the ones that are applicable separately.
Yep.
Instead of, and waive the readings.
That's fine. So what you would do is you'd have a motion to disregard B, D, P, L, whatever. And that would have to be voted.
Mhm.
And then you would start going down through your individual findings.
All right,
You want to start with A?
well, no, we're gonna actually start at the beginning.
Yeah,
The beginning is, we need to vote on. Completeness, then we need to vote
Okay.
on each of the individual articles. When we get to administration, that's what contains subdivision. So in order to vote on completeness of the administration chapter, we have to vote on A through E of subdivision. We'll do our combinations then, when we get to the end of all of that. Then we need to vote on.
conclusions,
Conclusions.
and then, so we'll start with completion of complete application.
Okay. Do I have a motion on the completeness of the application as submitted?
So
Do I have a second?
To find it complete.
Define it complete, thank you, sorry. Yeah, moved by Scott, seconded by Wanda. Any further discussion about the completeness of the application? Seeing none, all in favor? That passes 7-0. Article 1, general standards. Do I have a motion to accept Article 1? I'm gonna shorthand this, I'm not gonna longhand this. Is that all right with everybody? We all know what we're talking about, correct? Peter, is that okay? Thank you. So I want a motion to accept Article 1. Moved by Kevin, seconded by Scott. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 1? That passes 7-0. Do I have a motion to accept Article 2? District standards. Motion by Kevin, seconded by Scott. I get you. No. Any further discussion about Article 2? This is the one that contains
District standards.
district standards.
What kind of lot standards?
Site review stuff. Seeing none, all in favor of Article 2? I pass it 7-0. I have a motion to accept Article 3, site standards.
That's
I was gonna say 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all, I can tell you what they are, it's like. They're not applicable, it's about buildings.
I'll amend my motion. Then do I have a motion to designate Articles 3, 4, 5, and 6 as non-applicable for this application?
So
Moved by Scott, seconded by Wanda. Any further discussion? All in favor? Passes 7-0. Article 7, administration. So here's where we're gonna skip down to. Well, let's, do you want us to vote on? Pre-submittal, public notice? No, that's implicit upon the acceptance of the article as a whole.
think it's complete, yeah.
It's clear completeness. Yeah.
Okay, subdivision, so let's just quickly review here. I would,
So this is all, I think this is where we're gonna go through A through U.
yeah,
And this is all under Article 7, Section 12, F1, the standards for subdivision.
we're gonna work out
approval.
backwards, we're gonna go down into the subdivision standards, and we're gonna come back up to the whole
Right, yeah.
thing and vote on that article, so A
is the whole.
A is the whole code, so
Maybe that.
we have to do that separately.
Mhm.
B is the road driveway and entrance ordinance, we gotta do that one separately. I would say that C, pollution, D, sufficient water, E, municipal water supply, F, erosion. H, sewage disposal. I, municipal solid waste disposal. K, financial and technical capacity. L, surface waters, M, groundwater. N, flood areas.
And that one is addressed in the condition. That's the
It
condition
is.
that you have to put
It
it,
is.
any buildings have to be above.
Okay, so not N, sorry, I take that back, not N. O. Is addressed by supporting documents from DEP, so we'll keep that one separate. P. River, streams and brooks. Q, stormwater. S, lake phosphorus concentration. T, impact on adjoining municipality. All of those can be grouped into non-applicable. Do I have a motion to accept those?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Scott.
Scott and Kevin.
Great.
Any discussion about those? Agree with my assessment and grouping there? All right. All in favor? Passes. 7-0. So let's go back up and vote on item A. Do I have a motion to accept that the application meets approval standard A, standards of this code? Anybody?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Scott, seconded by Wanda. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That passes 7-0. Do I have a motion to accept that the application meets with the Newcastle Road driveway entrance ordinance? Moved by Kevin, seconded by anybody? Lucas, thank you. Any further discussion about item B, Newcastle Road driveway entrance ordinance? Seeing none, all in favor? That passes 7-0. What was the next one? G. Traffic. Do I have a motion to accept that the application meets the traffic section of subdivision approval?
So moved.
Moved by Scott, seconded by anybody? Kevin. Any further discussion about item G, traffic? Seeing none, all in favor of traffic? That passes 7. The next one was
J.
Aesthetic, cultural, and natural values. Do I have a motion to accept that the application meets the aesthetic, cultural, and natural values subsection of subdivision? Moved by Lucas, seconded by Kevin. Do we have any further discussion about item J? Seeing none, all in favor of item J? That's yes?
No.
No, okay.
Against that.
All in favor is 6, opposed? 6-1. The motion passes. Next one was flood areas, item N. Do I have a motion that the application meets subdivision flood areas?
So moved.
Moved by Scott, seconded by anybody? Wanda. Any further discussion about that one? We did receive information about this in the packet.
Are you talking about from what DEP looked into?
Yep.
Yeah, and also I think there are no wetlands that are identified there.
Yep.
So,
No, this is flood areas.
oh, sorry, flood areas, that's my mistake. Yeah, and the condition that's on here is that, basically anything that's built has to be outside of the 100-year flood area, which would be smart and is a condition of approval, so it's on the site plan.
Any further discussion about item N, flood areas? Seeing none, all in favor? That passes 7-0. Item O, freshwater wetlands, do I have a motion that freshwater wetlands meets the approval of subdivision? Yes. Wanda, moved by Wanda, seconded by Lucas. Do I have any discussion about item O, freshwater wetlands? Beyond what we received from the DEP? Seeing none, all in favor of item O? That passes 7-0. The next one was spaghetti lots, item R. Do I have a motion on spaghetti lots? Moved by Wanda,
I'll second one.
seconded by.
I'm gonna get in the
Change it
corner.
up. Seconded by Mike. All right, any further discussion about item R, spaghetti lots? Other than to say, Michael did the math and everything checks out. Thank you.
Happy to do that.
Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of item R? Passes 7-0. The last one was item U, land subject to liquidation and harvesting. Do I have a motion to accept standards under which this subdivision has been reviewed for land subject to liquidation and harvesting? Moved by Kevin, seconded by Lucas. Any further discussion about item U? Seeing none, all in favor of item U? Unanimous, yes, 7-0. That passes. Okay, so now, do I have a motion to accept that the subdivision complies with Article 7 administration? Moved by Scott. Do I have a second? Seconded by Kevin, sorry. Any further discussion about Article 7 administration? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 7? That passes 7-0.
Could I request respectfully that you vote to accept the findings of fact and conclusions of law as amended,
As amended.
following the conversation at this meeting?
Do I have a motion to accept the findings of facts and conclusions of law as presented and amended at this meeting? Moved by Wanda, seconded by Lucas. Any further discussion about that? Seeing none, all in favor? That passes 7-0. Okay,
Did we do roads, driveways, and entrances?
Yes, we did.
We did, okay, good.
separately.
I understand.
What's the next one we have to vote on?
I think that was,
We'll take a separate vote on the conditions that we've got here. So do I have a motion to accept the two conditions of approval that have been placed upon this application? The first being all principal structures proposed on any lot within the subdivision shall be constructed within their lowest floor, including the basement, at least 3 feet above the 100-year flood elevation. This condition shall remain in effect indefinitely and shall not prevent commencement of work which does not conflict with the condition. And number 2, no residential dwelling unit can be constructed within shoreline zone on lot 2B, as lot 2B does not contain the minimum lot width required for a residential dwelling unit in the shoreline zone. A residential dwelling unit can be constructed outside the shoreline zone on lot 2B. Do I have a motion to accept the conditions of approval?
So moved.
Moved by Scott. Do I have a second? Second by Kevin. Do I have any further discussion about these conditions? All in favor of the conditions of approval? That passes 7-0. Do I have a motion to approve the subdivision application as discussed and amended and voted on here today?
So moved.
with conditions.
With conditions. Moved by Scott, seconded by Kevin. Do I have any further discussion about the entirety of the subdivision application? Seeing none, all in favor of approval? Passes 7. Back to the agenda. We have no new business. We have. Moving on to other items, public comment. Do we have any public comments? Seeing none, do we have any further discussion about any items? Thank you, folks.
Thank you, guys.
Do we have any other discussions? That you need?
No, nothing, just let me look at my documents here. But, no, no.
All right,
This is not-
planners report.
I don't have anything I've been focused on.
That is just fine as it's 8:15. Do you have something?
One quick comment about the double I wrote up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right up. I just wanted to clarify that, I thought about this very carefully and it relates to the Shattuck subdivision and the issue, the reason I've had discomfort is because I feel as though we kind of, it all worked out fine, right? But I feel as though we somewhat went through the process backwards from what was, from the way it should be, in the sense that, you know, we received an application that was essentially complete and ready to sign, was like back in October. And then we went through a process of reverse engineering and deconstructing it in the next 2 meetings rather than the other way around. You see what I'm saying? Whereby normally a preliminary hearing and a pre-submittal hearing would be the place where you just would discuss those things, yes. And it turned out that we did proceed and follow those steps. And that was, it all worked out because everyone did their job. But I just didn't want to make a plea that, you know, this is the procedure that we follow in the future.
Yeah,
But I also think that, I think the public hearing raised a lot of concerns that we did dig into, and I hope they feel like that we did do our due diligence and got the answers. Yeah, it may not be the answers that people wanted always, but I think we did our due diligence to answer those to the best of our ability, so that we could come up with a reasonable conclusion.
Yes.
For this, so I don't know exactly how we could have negated all of that, because I think some of that came out of the public hearing.
Well, yeah, but it was through our own pushback, right, from the very first meeting, right?
And that's that, I made that mistake of trying to move this quickly. And then when I realized that, oh, I got out ahead. That's, I wanted to bring it to the board and I think it was appropriate what the board did, which was say, we're gonna have our pre-submittal hearing now, even though, if you know, if you got a complete application and everything in there, great, more information the better earlier, but you don't. So that review happened and I'm gonna try to make sure we follow that whole process a bit more carefully.
I think we stumbled a little bit at the beginning, but every time that we needed to make a decision, we voted on it as a board. And to make it official. And so I don't feel like procedurally we left anything undone.
No, I totally agree, yeah, but I just think there would have been maybe a little bit less friction if we were a bit more systematic in our,
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I guess my only concern there is that an applicant doesn't have to do a pre-submittal hearing.
They do.
It's.
Well, in our ordinance.
Is it
In
not?
our ordinance, they do.
Okay, it is defined in state law, is it not?
It
No.
is not defined as required in
It's
state
not
law.
required in state law. It's required by the court zoning.
Okay,
Okay, that's a misunderstanding.
Yeah, I looked at that and that 3-step, the statute actually limits planning board to
Yes,
no
right.
more than 3 steps. And it does say, you know, you may have a you know, I forget the 3 steps, actually, you've got your pre-application,
Right in the.
pre-submittal, and then application review.
Yeah.
And so,
but there's nothing to prevent an applicant from bringing a fully complete application. And then, as you say, having your pre-submittal hearing then.
There's absolutely nothing that would prevent us from combining them all into a single meeting.
Yeah, that's right. I agree.
Okay, I'm learning. I've been to 2 training sessions where the rules were laid out as 3 meetings. And
Well, I think
it wasn't-
most commonly,
I'm new,
No, no,
okay,
no, no,
I'm trying to learn.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think most
trying to learn.
commonly that that's the way it's applied in other towns. And that's the way that it's most commonly done in other towns.
It's almost tradition.
It is almost tradition,
In a lot of-
but I think the law is actually, this is the difference between may and shall. So I believe the language that's used is may have a pre-application meeting. May have a pre-submittal meeting, and I think must or shall have a review.
I don't have.
I can't remember exactly.
No, I looked at it on my other computer, yeah. No, but that's this, I will say, just generally subdivision law is kind of weird because at the same time that it's restricting municipalities from doing too much, like. You can't review a 2 lot, just a 2 lots split, you know, because that's not subdivision. So that is explicitly not subdivision, and so it's kind of a. You can't make that go through subdivision, but then it also says if you're going through subdivision, you have to go through all of those A through U.
Right.
So it's like a little bit of like a leash and also a like you will, it's a little bit weird.
Right.
Yeah,
And the may, shall, should, can.
Now, in this case, we had a building permit for the subdivision. Is that right?
But that really doesn't matter because she can build a house on that lot, whether if we voted out subdivision.
We
In
did.
terms of,
She could have still built a house on that lot, it just would have been 1 lot versus.
I see.
It would have been different, I think, if she had
Yeah.
had
But
building permits for 2 homes.
So,
That didn't have the divided lot.
and
No, and
That's
that
how I
would,
look.
and that would not,
Advanced, I mean,
Yeah,
I would work very hard to make sure that doesn't.
all of it is, you know, but it's.
I know.
It's also.
But it's really.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. All right.
It's really hard though, because we have a lot of roads like that in Newcastle.
Yeah.
I live on one of those roads, and if we have a lot of people who live on that road, there's a lot of traffic, but,
Just a second, real quick. Without objection,
oh.
Yeah.
meeting adjourned 8:20.
Thank
Thank you very much.